surprising number of people. That's good.
Ready? All right, I'd like to call to order the regularly scheduled May meeting of the Haymarket Planning Commission, Wednesday, May 10th. If we could do roll call, please.
Here.
Present.
Here.
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 Here. All right, if we could all please rise, pledge allegiance, and remain standing for a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, a moment of silence, please. All right, you may be seated. Thank you. All right, first order of business is minutes approval. We have the March 1 meeting and April 5th, so if everybody would look that over real quick.
You should same ones that were dropped off, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And let's do the March 1, and then once we're finished with that, we'll do April 5th. All right, do I have a motion to accept the March 1 regular
I'll
meeting
make
minutes?
a motion, Mr. Chairman, to accept the minutes of March 1st.
I will second it.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, and let's look at the April 5th, please. All right, do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
Commissioner, I will make a motion that we accept the minutes, the regular meeting minutes for the Planning Commission for April 5th, 2017.
All right, thank you. We have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. Moving on to citizens' time. If you're a citizen here and would like to address the planning commission, if you'd be kind enough to step over here, and we have a new procedure. If you could do what we've done in the past, state your name and your address, and also the requesting now that you sign in, just so we can have formal record. So anybody like to speak at citizens' time? Anything the citizen would like to talk about that's not on the agenda. All right? There should have been one in the back when you came in.
Shelby Leonard, 14801 Washington Street. Wanted to thank you for hearing me last month and for trying to undo some of those things that have been stressing me out about my property. I really appreciate it. I do have one concern. I know that you all have studied this new ordinance for about 2 years, or at least that's what I've been told. And there's just one concern I have is that a couple of pages of an addendum have been added to that. And I'm not sure I understand what all those changes are. I saw the map back there, and it looks like I'm finally on the map. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But it's the zoning ordinance and zoning map changes, that there are some additional, couple of pages that went out to people who fronted on Washington Street. And I finally got a copy of it from someone else, and they graciously copied it for me here in the office. They went out certified to people who fronted on Washington Street. And what I got was actually this page that says, save these dates, May 1st and May 15th. And notice May 10th tonight isn't on here. But I did find out about this meeting tonight, so I'm glad I did. And it's those changes, those additions. I wondered if someone will be explaining them to us in detail so we know what that means to us. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else?
My name is Dave Bailey. I live in 14946 Madison Court. Brought to my attention is some properties adjoining my property are being looked at for rezoning to a business status from a residential status. I was not informed by this town. I received a certified letter. I feel that that's a failure on this town's part to notify me when my property adjoins the property in question. I'd also like some sort of explanation or sort of avenue to find out what this rezoning entails. What's planned, what can be put there, what cannot be put there. If you decide, or the town decides, is there a vote sort of issue, or why, or how this gets rezoned? I'd like to know something about that. I'd like to know what the town plans to do for me as a 34-year resident, homeowner in this town, probably the longest standing person in this town. Buffer zone between me and this commercial area. Am I gonna smell restaurant grease? Am I gonna have, rats and stuff coming in my backyard because there's a restaurant there? Am I have screaming kids? Am I gotta worry about my dogs? These are all concerns of mine that I was not made aware of until I drove past and seen properties for sale listed as commercial that aren't commercial at this point. As far as I know, they're not commercial. Have false advertising very hopeful that we're going to pass this through, but I believe that I deserve some answers, some things, you know, nobody's even notified me. So I believe that I deserve being, I've butt up to this property. And it's going to affect my home value, it's going to affect my living, my quality of living. I need to talk to me.
I'd be more than happy to talk to you offline, but now's not the time for us to address. We're here as a public hearing, or citizens' time at this point. Right, yes, sir, but we're not going to enter dialogue right now. I'd be more than happy to talk to you at a later time to fill you in. All right, thank you.
Which is the later time, sir.
I will talk to you as soon as this meeting's over.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, anybody else? Citizens' time.
Hi, my name is Linda Childress. I live at 14948 Madison Court, Haymarket. And I received a certified regarding a public hearing tonight at 7 o'clock. What happened to that?
The public hearing is coming up after citizens' time.
It's not listed on the agenda like that.
It is.
It
Ma'am.
is.
It's number 6 on the agenda.
All right, anybody else? Citizens' time. All right, seeing none, we will close citizens' time. Next up on the agenda is public hearing. Chapter 50, the Town Code zoning ordinance and zoning map. All right, we will open it up this time for public hearings. If any citizen would like to address on the public hearing about the proposed zoning ordinance and zoning map, please come up, state your name, your address, and if you would sign in, we'd appreciate it.
Do we have to reiterate what we already said?
You just need to come up, tell us your name, your address, and sign in. Yes, ma'am. All right, anybody would like to speak to that?
Is it a done deal?
Ma'am, you have the opportunity to speak.
Linda Childress, 14948 Madison Court, Haymarket. Is it a done deal that the zoning has been changed from residential to business?
It's not a done deal until we vote in or not in. This is a proposed zoning map.
Do you, there's no other procedures to go through, it just goes through you guys?
It goes from us, then it goes up to the town council.
And it's gone through all the voting for, not against, all that kind of stuff. This is the first we're hearing about this, and it backs directly to my property, directly, the full county.
Well, ma'am, this is actually the second public hearing we've had on
The
this.
residents weren't notified.
I can't tell why you weren't notified. It's been on the website. We've been dealing with this and discussing it for the better part of almost 2 years. So I can't give you a reason why.
Does the town doesn't hold any responsibility to notify the residents that are directly affected? I finally got a notice last Saturday, a certified letter addressed to the property owner of 14948. And I've lived here 34 years. I mean, how inconsiderate is that? I mean, do the residents that have direct impact from that not have any say? I mean, this has been on the docket forever, and it always gets shot down. And all of a sudden you guys have gone through this whole procedure without notifying us? That doesn't make any sense. There's got to be more in line for you guys to explain to us what's going on and what's happening and how all of a sudden it's getting resumed.
Ma'am, it is a plan use map. These people still have to go through the necessary paperwork to have their property.
But
It's
does
a
the
zone.
paperwork include the citizens, and does the paperwork include any more of the town? Do we get a say? Do we get a vote?
We will have more public hearings if and when somebody wants to be rezoned. This is a plan use map to try to tie in all the plan use in the town.
It has specific addresses on it, so, I mean,
That
has it
is-
been approved?
We're getting ready to possibly do that tonight. If you can get a copy of the map, this is the, you mind giving her a copy? There's copies up here.
I've got a copy of that map that tells you absolutely nothing, but.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street. Since I lived in the town 45 years, more than 25 of that properties on that block have been planned commercial. When I was on the town council, probably 30 years ago, it was planned commercial at that time, and the first property has been commercial for, I know, 30 years or more. The very first one at the corner of Madison Street, which is Madison Corner Shop. The next property was rezoned, a short time after that. Those two first house owners are related to each other. But at any rate, the next three properties were left out and actually got down planned later. So I appreciate you considering them and finishing the streetscape that went from one end of town to the other end of town to be commercial fronting on Washington Street. I feel bad for anyone who sees that as an offense. Pray that that will turn out to be a blessing to them in the long run. But I appreciate you, again, you're righting wrongs. Thank you.
All right, anybody else?
Dave Bailey, same address as before. I'd like to know why I did not receive the certified letter that my neighbor did. I work for UPS. I leave the house 6 o'clock in the morning, and I get home at 9 o'clock at night. I made a special effort and took off work today to be here because this is the first that I've heard of it. And as Ms. Leonard said, yes, it has been talked about in the past, but it's never reached this point. It's never gotten this far. And without me having any notice, any notification, other than seeing for sale signs that say commercial on these properties, I just would like to make sure or have some say in the fact that the town takes into consideration how it affects us, and growth is going to happen. I agree wholeheartedly with this, and I'm not against growth, but I believe that growth in it needs to be done in a proper fashion where it doesn't impact residential settings. I don't know if there's stipulations that you could put into this. I read over this briefly since I've only had 19 minutes to look at it, and it has a lot of uses that look like it was just blanket taken from some other zoning somewhere. I don't particularly want some of those uses in my backyard. Not your backyard, it's mine. Nice quaint
Why you were not personally notified, I can't give you a satisfactory answer, because I don't know. I do know that I served on the town council. We started working on this about 2 years ago. We've had, I don't even know how many revisions we've gone through. We're trying to get the plan use map. We rewrote the ordinance. It's been looked at, vetted multiple times. We had a public hearing. We ended up having another one because we wanted to make some changes to it to tighten up the language. The property owner has been in here several times on those properties over the past year. And on the plan use map, they're B1 Town Center, and B1 Town Center is retail, shopping, personal services. Obviously, the town would be very favorable to you all that live behind it. You have to understand the setbacks on these properties, they're not very deep properties. They'd be severely limited what could go in there with the setbacks, the buffers. So the last thing we want to do, I mean, we're all property owners in the town. I hear what you're saying. And we're trying to get some continuity to the planned land use map. Everything that fronts Washington Street pretty much all the way down to the new park is pretty much business. But again, what can go in there is not going to be very big because of simply you'd have to take into parking. It's going to be small in scope. It would have to be. They're not that deep of lots. So anything that would be proposed to go in there, we would obviously have to go all through the whole system. Again, hearings. So I hear what you're saying. I respect what you're saying. Why you didn't get notified till now, I can't answer because I don't have an answer.
Can I have it documented at this point with all proceedings from here out that affect me in this manner? I received notice.
If you will stick around, I will talk to you personally. Yes, sir.
That would be nice. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen in this town that I don't understand. Did y'all have anything to do with these streetlights out here?
I did not have anything to do with those streetlights. They were before me. I've lived here a long time like you.
I've been here, what, 3 years? 3 years, something like that?
What streetlights are you referring to?
Light pollution. It's ridiculous. It looks beautiful when you drive down Main Street, but when you sit on my back deck, I couldn't have a conversation with you because that light right there is blinding me. I can't even see it.
Okay, sir, I hear what you're saying. I'm more than willing to talk to you, but I'm not here to talk about streetlights right now.
Okay, well, this is it. That's just an example of the things that I've overlooked and have gone on. This is something that seriously impacted me this time.
All right,
And I am concerned about it.
all right, thank you.
I'm Bill Rafferty. I own the houses. There are two of them that they were talking about, 14871 and 14851, and AC Watts owns the other one. So I understand you guys own the commercial. I'm up to townhouses. You guys own residential. Let's do townhouses. I think I can fit 8 in there. With AC, we could fit 16. You know, so if that's the avenue, if you guys are really opposed to that, or Section 8 housing, I don't care.
I don't want a Section 8 living in my backyard, bro. But you don't.
Pick and choose every I can't talk to you. Everybody's got to pick and choose the battle they want to fight. You want it to be residential, it's got to be residential. You live in a town, you're going to have streetlights, you're going to have traffic, you're going to have growth. There's areas outside of this town you can live and not have streetlights and all that. My point is, if nobody wants it to be commercial, we bought these properties years and years ago. They were already slated for commercial. We said, heck with it. We didn't get our paperwork in time. Council changed. It changed. We'll catch up with it later. There's only 3 properties owned on the whole entire street that aren't commercial, and those for them. And judging by the setbacks that you guys are saying, I might be better off having them as townhomes. No, let's build a big, beautiful set of townhouses right on the street, and the setbacks on the commercial or the residential is like 5 foot, right? Am I correct?
I don't have a command to marry. I'm not here to debate what you can put there and what not. Now's not the time or place. It's
Anyway, I just want to say, whatever it may be, if it's not going to be commercial, let's do town. I'm cool with that.
Ma'am, We have someone.
We have somebody coming up.
Please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission, Rob Weir, 6853 St. Paul Drive. I should be sitting in a chair watching the puck drop in about 2 minutes, but I'm not. I'm here. And I'm torn. I'm torn between scolding the town, or quite frankly, running down to the court center, seeing the Commonwealth's attorney, talking to him about an investigation and preferring charges. To a layman, this notice can indicate the town's for sale. It's for sale for the benefit of certain elected officials, appointed officials, and friends of those officials. The advertisement is probably deficient. Not probably, likely deficient. You don't combine rezoning with text amendments. Furthermore, it's probably deficient, judging by what I'm hearing tonight, in that you didn't notice everybody by certified mail as required by statute in the adjoining properties and those within 250 feet. Above and beyond that, I'm looking at this and the text reads rezoning. You're going to rezone 14841, 14845, 14851, and 14871 Washington Street, and you're going to rezone several other parcels to B2. And then you talk about it being the planned map, which is it a rezoning? Is it a planned use map? If it's a rezoning, it's got a bunch of requirements. If it's a change in the planned use map, that's not part of this. That's a comp plan amendment. This is planning 101, guys.
All right, excuse me. Let me remind you one thing, Mr. Weir. You're going to talk to us in a respectful tone, or I'm going to ask you to be
I haven't
removed.
insulted anybody yet.
That's not what I'm saying.
So you're saying being loud is disrespectful?
I'm saying talk to us in a respectful tone, or I'm going to have you removed. That's what I'm saying.
A change in the long range or the planning use map is a comp plan amendment change. It's a technical issue. It has a whole different set of requirements. If that's what you're contemplating, then you have to do a comp plan amendment, not a text amendment. It doesn't get included in the zoning text amendment. If it's a rezoning, it's got an entirely different set of requirements and a different set of advertising requirements. Furthermore, in the listing, it's interesting. You elaborate several of the changes within the text, but the one you don't elaborate on is the change in the 50-foot height for the B1, which, quite frankly, in my view, appears to be a manner of spot zoning in favor of an applicant that's before this board tonight. I don't think you considered the impact of that 50-foot height increase, or that increase to 50 feet. These parcels that you want to rezone to 50, that you want to rezone to B1 will suddenly be eligible for a 50-foot height. Right there at the corner of St. Paul, Washington Street. Or, I mean, this thing appears utterly and completely deficient on so many levels. Which brings us to the rezonings. Typically, those are done as part of your comp plan. You don't put them in as part of the zoning text amendment. It's just technically not the way you do it. I don't see a resolution from the council. I don't see a motion from you guys, and I don't see an application by the applicant. Those are all required in 15.258/422 of state code. As is a description of the public necessity, how it's in the general welfare, and how it's good zoning practices. A couple of chapters later, 15.258/425, you're required to document the impact on services. You're required to document the impact on the character and needs of the community, and you're required to document its consistency with the comp plan. Well, I'll give you a quick note. It's not consistent. It's not consistent with the comp plan. The comp plan right now has that area designated as TC. If you rezone it to B1, you've got a non-compliant rezoning, which is the surest way I know to end up with either a BZA appeal or find yourself in circuit court. And you're going to find yourself deficient because the land use statutes and the case law require that your rezoning be compatible with your long-range land use map. These are not. On the face of it, this cannot pass unless you've got a comp plan amendment that I'm unaware of and hasn't been advertised. Again, this is planning 101. I don't blame you guys. I blame staff, but I guess it's understandable given that you've had 3 different planners in the last 6 months, and this is sort of a hodgepodge of input. But I think you guys need to take this back to the drawing board, straighten out all these procedural deficiencies. One last thing. For a lot of whining and crying over the years. Oh, the property's been downzoned. Oh, the property's been downplanned. It was never downzoned. Those 3 parcels were never downzoned. Were they downplanned? Yes. The long-range land use designation for those 3 parcels was changed about 10 years ago. It was changed as a result of the development on the parcels that Ms. Leonard's property was part of. It was downzoned because we had to make that R2. It was downzoned to make the town flow from residential to light commercial to heavy commercial on the west end. The reason for the TC was a compromise. The TC district was created as a compromise to make that flow. So if you're going to incorporate all these changes, you guys need to go back and review them, and figure out what sort of comp plan changes you need to make, both in the text of the comp plan, and there are several sections that are going to have to be amended, and in the zoning map or the planned long-range land use map of the comp plan. Otherwise, none of this stands. I'm doing you guys a favor telling you now, because I could have just waited, but it's something you probably need to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else?
You said there would be a buffer. What type of buffer are you talking about between the properties?
Well, right now in the town with the proposed changes, it's a 10-foot buffer. And we have projects that have foliage. We have some that have combined foliage and fence.
But you don't have any idea what the proposed.
Ma'am, there's nothing been proposed to go in there. I can't give you the answer to questions when we're changing land use.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, anybody else? All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing. All right, we've talked about this now for pretty much 2 years. It's been gone through with our attorney, our town staff. We've looked at this, I don't know how many times. We've had the company in here that has worked on this, I don't know how many times. We've had a joint public hearing or work sessions with the council. So, do I have a motion to accept this? And then we will go from there.
And the motion would be to pass it up to the
Yes, ma'am.
council.
Yep, which is the final authority in the town.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we forward to the town council Town Code Chapters 35 and 38 of the United Development Ordinance Zoning and Subdivision for their examination.
All right, thank you. Do I have a second?
I will second it.
All right, discussion.
Does that include the map that has been discussed
Yes, ma'am. They're going up together.
together?
Yep.
Simply because in our minutes, our second set of minutes, which we approved, we mentioned the property. I'm looking on page, let me give you the page. The cap property, the minutes for April 5th. And when we discussed the cap property on April 5th, in those minutes, I don't believe, I think, and I'm on page,
8,
perhaps the page.
packet page 8.
Packet page 8. I didn't think we had some resolution. I thought it left it open in terms of that particular, the resolution for the cap property. Because Mr. Schneider talked about whether the property was ever zoned I-1, and there was a discrepancy, and we tabled this matter until the regular scheduled meeting, since it was close to the zoning map. So are we just making a decision on it here? Because I didn't think we had consensus as to how that particular piece of property would play in the map. At least I didn't have a clear understanding.
Right, I remember the discussion when Mr. Snyder was in, which was the former town planner, talking about the varying things that could go on that property with the floodplain, the access, being landlocked, and what the owner could and could not do. Right now, it's like a combination nursery, and there's some equipment on there. Right now, under the plan, proposed zoning map, it's I-1, which is limited light or limited industrial. So from my understanding, we had talked about that and wanted to verify with this proposed zoning map, which I'm comfortable with because currently that's what's being used. But we can certainly discuss it.
Does Mr. Cap's property span both the conservation district and the limited industrial, so that he will have to take both into account with his planned business, or does it just fall within the boundary of one only, so then it's not an issue?
Do you know the answer to that?
So it's still in the conservation, it looks like. But then,
I know there was parts of it that were,
this shows it all as part of the conservation, if the colors are correct. And this also shows it, but under the C1, you can do a garden center, you can do a greenhouse.
which is what he currently uses it.
Right.
I think the question was, without interrupting, is he had some equipment on there he wanted to move around, and to whether that fell under the light industrial, or limited industrial, I say light.
Yeah.
So he would have to honor this map into where he puts his equipment.
Correct.
Is he aware that he would have to, I mean,
He was communicated with,
okay.
Yes.
so yes, ma'am.
He's also in a resource-protected area, so he,
Right.
it needs to be on the up and up.
Okay, so ultimately, that issue is resolved, is
At
what
this
I'm
point in
hearing.
time,
Yes.
yes. Yeah, it was discussed last time when Marchand came in, because he had the most, given the fact that we do have our third planner, which is just, it's the way it is,
Yeah.
and Marchand had the longest tenure, so that's what he came in and briefed us last time, unless someone remembers something different. And I appreciate you bringing it up, because that was my understanding.
Yeah, I just was unsure, and I guess Mr. Weir's comments made me wonder if we should do some more due diligence just on this particular plan use map as apart from the rest. And I want to throw that out to
Yeah.
the group. I know we've done this for 2 years, but we've had 3 planners, and we've had a lot of different opinions.
Right.
And our present planner,
And our present planner is new.
any pearls of wisdom, sir?
I have not dealt with the zoning ordinance update or any of the map changes, so I really couldn't answer any questions regarding that matter at all. That's been prior
Right.
employees and the current town manager, of course, the town attorney.
Yeah,
But for me to try to answer anything regarding this particular issue would be
yeah.
not appropriate.
From my perspective, I don't know if you can ever eliminate all the questions. It's never going to be a perfect document. Not that we don't want to do the best we can. And we've given this multiple look-throughs. We've delayed this multiple times, and I totally get what you're saying, ma'am. I'm very comfortable, again, I have one vote, of putting this up to the town council, and if we generate any questions, they're going to have a public hearing, it can be vetted yet again, and the public will have another opportunity to speak to it, which I'm sure will get more folks to speak.
Will these people be notified?
I will make sure that they get notification. They should have been notified before, and I
Yeah.
don't have an answer why they weren't.
No.
And if they have them notified, they have some kind of document, so we can look at the documents.
Right. And it goes back to, we all have a responsibility to look on the website.
Yeah.
I mean,
Except that not everybody has access to the internet. I mean, there is a digital divide in our
Sure.
society, and I think we have to honor that. And we really have to work on communication, because that's what we're hearing. We're hearing a communication problem here that we can address with a lot of diligence. And I know we're trying our best. That's all I'm saying, is so that the townspeople feel that their ideas, we do honor their problems.
sure, that's why we're here.
Yes, I think everybody on this panel, I feel that everybody does, but I think to put it on the website is one thing. Maybe we have to somehow advertise it even more, especially for all of those adjacent properties.
Right.
I agree with that. I think the communication there, especially the attached properties and everything, I'm agree with the chairman. I don't know why they weren't notified. Should have been, because it does directly affect them. And so I think, and I know, Mr. Chairman, you'll follow up on that.
Yeah, I'll follow up.
Make
I
sure they
told
get
them I would.
notice, and I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Could we get some kind of a listing? Obviously, the website would be one. Newspapers would also be,
Well, it's published in the newspaper by
Yeah.
law.
it has to be.
Right.
The Gainesville newspaper?
I don't know what all it goes to, but it has
Is
like
it
a
just the local?
14-day.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the local papers get it.
I mean, aside from knocking on the door and handing it to him personally, which I'm willing to do, we can get some letters out, because there's going to be another public hearing with the
Town council.
town council. But given the fact we've worked on this for 2 years, we've had multiple public, well, I shouldn't say multiple public hearing. We had a public hearing, we've had a joint, this is actually the second public hearing on this.
Right.
And it was advertised for today because we would have had it last week, but we postponed, and we would not have met the requirements, so. You know, as far as the real estate signs, we had nothing to do with that. So, anyway, I will reach out to them. We'll make sure they know they'll have another opportunity to speak. So, all right, any other discussion? All right, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Could we, again, say what we're voting on? I know it sounds like, but could we clarify it again?
All right, can we get,
Please.
let's go back. Who made the motion?
I made the motion. to
Okay.
Send to the town council, chapters 38 and 58.
Okay.
United Development Ordinance Zoning and Subdivision, along with the proposed
Zoning
proposed zoning map for their examination.
And I had second that
Okay.
motion.
So we're setting up the zoning text amendment and the plan use zoning map is what we're setting up. Correct?
Yes.
All right. Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Andy? Casanella?
Yes.
Otto?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, ARB and town council update. I know Mr. Leak normally does that. Does anybody have an update or privy to any update?
I was here at the town council. I don't really have an update on that. We all got an email from Councilman Leak. Is that something to discuss here?
Sure, I mean, we can. It's
About
public
the,
record. John Marshall Commons.
John Marshall Commons, that
Yep.
apparently that was disapproved
By the county.
by the county. So just wanted to get that on record.
Yep.
Yeah, it didn't meet their planned land use with the mixed use of residential and business.
Right.
So that's kind of gone all the way back to the,
I didn't attend their hearing. Did anyone
No, I
attend?
wasn't able to make it,
I
but
wasn't able to, but
the major reason, I think, was school overcrowding.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I read
Absolutely.
through what they said, that it was overcrowding, it was traffic, and it didn't meet their long-range land use.
And I can speak strongly on the traffic portion of it. Thank you, that's all I have.
Yep, well, thank you very much. All right, let's move on. New business. If you look on page 144 in the packet, the pastor here, if you want to come up, I know you wanted to address us. We're not taking any action tonight, but I know you wanted to brief us, and welcome.
My name is David Monroe. I'm the administrator for St. Michael's Academy here in Haymarket. I live at 7185 Homestead Court in Warrenton. We will be bringing to you all a renewal request for the special use permit for the modular at 6735 Fayette Street. That's our pre-K campus. We are in the process of trying to buy property to renovate a building to merge our two campuses, but it's going to take us at least a year for that renovation, and it could take a little bit longer. So we want to leave the pre-K campus intact along with the modular. We'll be asking for a 3-year renewal just to cover if there are any issues with our construction schedule. And so that's what we'll be bringing to you. That the current SUP terminates August of 2017. If there are any issues with
We appreciate you coming. Thank you very much.
sir.
Appreciate it. All right, moving on to old business, the QBE site plan, number 2017-002, 14,600 Washington Street. I know we have a couple gentlemen here, I'm assuming would like to address the commission, so if you would like to come up, line up, however you guys want to do it, you're more than welcome.
Hello, my name is Keith Lowry. My address is 903 Aqua Place, Leesburg, Virginia.
Is it on?
There's a green light on there, or?
Need to buy better batteries. All right, there we go.
All right.
It's on.
Happens every time.
I'll start again. My name is Keith Lowry. My address is 903 Aqua Place, Leesburg, Virginia. I'm Sean Lander's partner, so I'm have a quick part to address, and then we have we have John here who can answer any technical questions that may not be addressed in what I'm about to say. So, to start, we have submitted the site plan to all external agencies per guidance from the town of Haymarket. All external agencies have approved comments, and we have resubmitted to address, have provided comments, and we have resubmitted to address all the comments. The PwC planning asked for additional privacy fence separating QB Business Park and John Marshall Commons property in case it was to be zoned residential. That may be irrelevant at this point, but it's currently commercial. We didn't require the fence, but we were going to go ahead and put the privacy fence up in anticipation that it may at some point be zoned residential, just so we wouldn't have any compliance issues in the future. We are asking for approval for the preliminary site plan. Our site plan complies with all the current ordinances with the exception of the 35-foot height limit. Our site plan is fully compliant with a new proposed ordinance that the public hearing was held on. We are underneath the 50-foot height limit. What we would like to do is we would like to ask the Planning Commission to consider approving the final site plan contingent on the height requirement being resolved either through the Town Council, adoption of the new ordinance, or a variance approved through the BZA. I just wanted 3 points from me closing, and then we'll do questions. One, does it fit with the town's vision? The town's vision is to have all commercial along Washington Street. This is shown with the town looking to rezone some of the properties currently R1, B1 that was discussed tonight. We were also required as part of our boundary line adjustment back years ago to rezone it commercial, so this is in line with that plan. It's good for the town. Yes, again, we were required to rezone when we purchased the property and brings additional commercial interest into the town limits of Haymarket. Have we met all the requirements for the final site plan? As far as we know, yes, we have. Steve, do we have any outstanding items that you're aware of?
No, the only item was the one from the county. I think you addressed that in your initial.
The fence? Yeah.
Fence. So
And,
that's it. Except for the height plan.
okay, I'm done. So,
All
any
right.
questions?
I had questions about your new frontage. You're going to have an egress and ingress for the change onto Washington Street?
Yes, that would
Initially,
be our requirement.
and that, so that's a change. Has any kind of traffic study been done, or what kind of, I know it mentioned a page 4, but we were not given page 4 to indicate what kind of volume of traffic would that generate?
Analysis.
Sir, could you announce
Sorry?
your
Yes.
name, please, and if you would, please?
My name is David Hanson. I live at 380 Rock Springs Drive, southwest in Leesburg, Virginia, and I'm here with the KDL group, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
And if you all don't mind, just make sure you're signing in. That's a new change as of today for us, so if you'd be kind enough to do that. We always have the videotape, and everything is public record, but still. Thank you.
No problem. And I'm John Davis, managing member of the KDO group. We prepared the site plan that's before you tonight, so we're glad to answer any questions you have. So we'll start with your traffic question. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yes, with regard to the traffic study, what we did was an ITE, traffic generation count, worked with the representatives from Virginia Department of Transportation with regard to any turn lane warrants, and based on the on-site generation, they required us to add a turn lane taper off of Washington Street, right turn lane taper into the site.
Sir, could you tell me who in VDOT you had that discussion with?
Our reviewer was Hiran Joshi. He's with the Northern Virginia District Office Land Development Section. They as I'm sure you're aware, they
I'm VDOT. I know him, so I was just curious.
Okay.
I was curious because Washington Street already has some traffic issues in terms of congestion. So I was curious about how many more cars would actually be generated with the businesses when you go 2 more floors on a building, just in terms of adding to the congestion.
I don't know that we can give you an exact figure at the moment, but I would say approximately between 500 and 600 more vehicles per day due to the expansion of the existing building. But again, we have allocated that over the 2 entrances that are being proposed on the site now. We met with staff early in the process. The staff's not here, but it was decided that it would be in the site's best interest to eliminate the one-way circulation around the building and eliminate the one egress that is next to John Marshall Commons, and to increase the travelway widths and provide a second ingress-egress along Blight Drive. So we now are showing 2 entrances into the site, one off of Washington Street, one off of Blight Drive, which both will serve as for two-way traffic. We do anticipate that more of the traffic will use Blight Drive, use that entrance, than the Route 55 entrance, simply because of the natural traffic pattern that will be generated by the site and where the predominant parking lot area is located.
Excuse me, did you say 500 to 600 cars? Did I hear that, or?
Vehicle trips. So that would be, I guess you could.
Half of that you're talking.
They're coming in and going out. Yeah, about half.
But, okay.
That would include the school children?
That would include the uses that we are aware of at this time. And keep in mind that with this type of zoning, as you know, there are a number of by right uses that are allowed within the building and within the new expansion of the building. We have no way of knowing right now how the building will fill out. But as the building fills out, we obviously have to track the parking requirements for each use and make sure it meets the available parking.
One thing I'll add is if you look at the, we look at the traffic patterns of the area today, a lot of the ingress and egress from the site is going to be during the day, during the off hours of traffic that's currently on Washington Street. So it's not like all those cars are being added at 6:30 in the evening when we have a lot of those congestion issues. Most of those are day use, and then there will be some evening use with the ice cream shop that's currently on there. But again, those aren't. We wouldn't expect to see those predominantly at the time that's following today.
I think anyone who lives on Washington Street considers it pretty congested, almost too frequently.
When would our next public hearing be for this?
Well,
Or do we have one scheduled at this time for this particular project?
well, it's,
Mr. Chairman, yeah, what would happen is, the planning commission would have another shot at this plan, so to speak. If that's a final site plan.
For our review?
That's correct.
Well, we were submitting this as a draft and a final because there are no further comments on the plans. The only outstanding issue is the height limit that needs to be passed. All other agencies have commented and we've addressed all the staff comments today.
right.
Yeah, what Keith, I'm sorry. to
Excuse
interrupt.
me, it's my understanding, Steve, that this is a preliminary site plan, and looking at the notes from that you and I discussed, their final site plan with us would be in the July timeframe, where we would look at this again, and then it would go to the town council under our current ordinance, correct?
Under the current ordinance, that's scheduled to apply.
And then if the zoning ordinance is changed and adopted, then it would come to us one more time, and we would have the final say, because at that point, under our new zoning ordinance, it doesn't go to the town council. So in either way, we would not act on it tonight as a final, because obviously we have a lot more to look at on this as well.
And at the time when I was talking to QBE, the schedule for the public hearings for the zoning ordinance updated for time they were earlier. So at that time, we thought that the through the public hearing process. In this case, it's not.
Right, and it got pushed back, because we didn't meet we made changes, number one, and we asked it to be delayed, and then we had to meet the advertising component.
Right.
Thus, we got to this point on May 10th.
It's tough to, it would be tough to prove the final with the height still outstanding.
Right.
As I said before, it would come back to the planning commission and give it another shot at it.
With maybe some of the questions that the commission's addressing tonight, one last scrub through, I think would be good.
I would agree.
If I could, just, and with, not trying to be repetitive, but just did want to emphasize that we have submitted, and the outside referral agencies have reviewed the plan as a final design. So from their perspective, there's no missing information, nothing more for them to review, and they have signed off. So any further review, I think, would be limited or single to the town staff or planning commission's concerns.
There is presently a school there. What's the future of the school in that building?
The school's current lease goes through the end of next
So
year.
if you could speak in the mic, please, sir.
So the school's current lease goes through the end of next school year. We're currently working, having discussions with them on other options, but that's what the current lease covers.
Okay, so beyond next June, then, there may not be a school involved in this. Do you see any conflict between the construction that you are planning and the fact that there are any number of children present in that school?
So the first thing we're trying to do is get the actual date that we're going to be beginning construction, which is dependent on a lot of these plans. Once we have the actual date of construction beginning, then we're going to sit down with each of our tenants and have that discussion of where we're going to be, when we're going to be doing the construction moving forward. We're also going to follow all guidance for site safety, for proper safety fences and everything else during the construction. But at this point, until we know exactly when we're going to be breaking ground and what the final construction schedule is going to be, we just haven't sat down with all of our tenants, because it's not just them. We have construction that's going on in the gym, with the church, and other tenants that we have in the building as well, so that we can give them a detailed plan for when we're going to be in their areas.
I may be beating a dead horse, but I don't think you were here at our last meeting. We had some pretty irate citizens, and with very legitimate concerns. I'm a grandparent. I know I share their concerns. Not only sitting up here as one of the commissioners, but as a grandparent and a resident of this town. Just my recommendation is that liaison with that school needs to be sooner rather than later, or else you're going to feel the wrath of a whole lot of citizens, as we did, and we didn't even have the full plan yet. So
just for one point of clarification, our lease is with the school, and we cannot talk directly to parents and
understand.
Much of the information that was here, again, the school was offered first right of refusal to buy the property in the back of the school. They were actually the first ones we offered to purchase not just one floor, but 2 floors like they had originally asked. And that was, I have to go through my notes, but it was March or February. So I understand that a lot of the parents didn't learn until later, but I can't talk.
A whole lot. And that was kind of, we felt the wrath here, but again, that's really between the school and the parents. It's not our job to do that liaison. It's not your job to do the liaison. The owner, it is, yeah. But
well, and I mean, we will, again, we need our construction schedule, so
sure.
We can tell people when stuff, because like I said, our other tenants ask the same question, and we have no desire to do, steel construction above a building while we have, children in the building as well. So, we do have a concern for that. I know it's been implied that we don't, but we are,
I'm sure you do.
Again, right now, I don't know exactly when we're going to be, breaking ground, but depending on this, I know what our proposed, our internal schedule is. But once we get all this stuff finalized, then we can sit down with our tenants and explain what our schedule is.
Thank you.
I just have a question for Steve, fellow person. With 500 to 600 more trips a day, would that call for any light at the end of light or anything like that, or any kind of traffic?
Traffic survey would have to be done there. I really don't think they would. I don't think it's going to necessarily be a light there. I'm not sure. Our traffic engineering would have to get involved with that to look at that.
And that would be after everything was approved?
No, it should be before that's approved, and that's why I recommend you get back. You can mention my name, Steve Shannon. They know who I am. And just tell him our concerns, and he can contact me if he would like. He knows who I am. I'm the residency administrator for VDOT for Prince William County, and he may want to give me a call and just kind of let me know what they've done. I too have that concern. If you're saying even 250 cars with 500 trips leaving and coming back, that's a lot. That's really a lot. Even over the course of a day. I'm not sure whether traffic engineering, what they would look at there. I'm not saying they're going to do this here. Everywhere else, they're throwing in, I call them squircles, but the traffic circles. Anywhere that we have that type of traffic, that would necessitate obviously a full-blown study with VDOT, with our traffic engineering section. But that would have to be looked at. That is absolutely a good point.
Purely as an anecdote, I tried to walk from Blight to our neighborhood across the street about 2 weeks ago. It took me almost 5 minutes.
Well, we do it every day.
And you have to, there were cars that were 3 and 4 deep on Blight trying to turn left.
With the new construction there, and it seems like we've increased more folks. I do have a question. How many cars are actually going through there a day? I guess what I'm thinking is, let's say, how big is the school? How many cars? Do you have any idea how many cars are going through there currently? And if the school left, would we be swapping? I mean, again, I'm concerned with traffic as well. I think everybody in town is.
I mean, I'd have to estimate, I mean, we probably have 200 trips a day, maybe double that for morning and evening with the school. The school generates a tremendous amount of traffic, and it's all
congested.
specifically at, two specific times basically during the day, which does lend to congestion, which is, I think, with the school leaving, the traffic pattern that's going to be on our property is going to be spread over much more of the day. I'm not a traffic guy, but I mean, again, my thinking on it is it's going to be a better traffic load in the area than it is currently because it's the morning. It's just like the other, it's like Haymarket Baptist on the street as well. I mean,
it's busy.
All that traffic at one time is a challenge. But we're a commercial property, especially with a mixed commercial. It's not all one type. You're going to have that traffic load distributed across the day, and especially with the origin. I mean, it's people coming in during the day. They're leaving for lunch, coming back. Leaving in the evening, so it's not even that 500 cars isn't, or the 500 trips isn't just divided by 2. I mean, it's all the origins of the people that are utilizing the building, utilizing the commercial space as well.
It's still a question that I think we need some answers to.
I would agree. I'm at work at 5:30 in the morning, so I don't see what's going on in the morning or in the afternoons. But I think that definitely warrants some additional research, at least with you and your VDOT counterpart there, to talk to him and just kind of bring that up, let him know that we have the concern about, and it wouldn't be traffic calming because we're not going to put speed humps or anything like that out there. But you may want to get with him and ask him how he would look at that, what he thinks needs to be done traffic-wise. Okay, good point.
All right.
And let me just say, I'm confident in our traffic engineers that they'll come up with the right plan if this is approved. I'm confident in that. But it needs to be looked at, so.
A good point. Other comments for these gentlemen? All right, well, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Steve, I'm going to go back to you. With the current tentative schedule, if we were originally shooting for August, presupposing that the council takes up and does pass the zoning ordinance that we just pushed up to them, they would take that up in June, correct? Yes, sir. All right, so if the ordinance passes, then it takes the council out of the equation because we would have the final approval of this project, correct?
That's correct.
So I guess my point is if we ask them to go back, which was pretty unanimous, or was unanimous, to get the research on the traffic, they came back in June, we could actually finish, provided everything was satisfactory, we could actually finish this up in July as opposed to August, correct?
In a perfect world, it sounds like it's doable, and traffic wasn't the number of trips and traffic wasn't a major item that I knew of prior, so it's time to address that before filing.
I guess even in an imperfect world, we could probably still meet August.
Looks like it,
I think that would be, because again, we want to do our due diligence.
So I think it's, the schedules are pretty tight, but it's pretty close to what you just mentioned can be accomplished.
All right, as far as your take on it, I've read, and you and I have discussed your summary. So it sounds like they've pretty much cleared every hurdle, addressed every issue with the exception of the height and the traffic.
That's correct. The planning commission brought up additional questions about the traffic, so they'll address that.
So you could work with them to get those answers, bring it back in June, and if they were satisfactory, then we could move pretty quickly thereafter, correct?
As long as we have a resolution on how the height will be handled following that traffic discussion, yes.
Well, supposing that the zoning text amendment is passed by the town council, then the height issue becomes a moot point because they would meet what we've already passed up to them. So really, it would come down just to the traffic. And I'm sure with Steve and his expertise and you, I'm sure we could find the answers that we can make an intelligent decision. Does that sound?
Absolutely, I agree.
Okay, are we all comfortable with that, of bringing them back one more time? Or 2 times as need be, but I think one more time if everybody does their part. Let's just go around the, not that we're voting, but just I want to hear each one of your comments.
I think it's, let's get him, move forward. I really like to have those things move quicker. Let's review it faster and move quicker, and let's start. My opinion is, if those things done properly, and we have to move quicker.
I agree with the traffic. I think that will, and once we get that understood, I'd like to, move this along as quickly as we can.
I like the traffic issue answered, and clearly the height answer, and see if the ARB has anything to say, because we didn't have a input from the ARB tonight, because we're missing Mr. Leak a lot. So if there's any input on that 50-foot zoning variance, I know we have people speaking publicly, but I'd like the ARB's professional input there, and we move forward. I think the schedule, we have a schedule that is okay. If we can move it up a bit, we can move it up a bit.
I'm kind of fascinated by the idea of building around basically a building that's already there with 2 more stories. In particular, the plumbing, the electrical, running wires, running tubes, running pipes. You're going to go through a ceiling once in a while that's maybe 100 years old. How is that going to be done?
Well, you're coming up to pose that question too. Has an asbestos study been done on that building?
Yeah, by the school, when we, all that stuff.
Which makes sense, okay.
So, one of the reasons that we're building around the building is kind of for exactly some of the reasons that you point out. While the school's been there a long time, it was really built in 4 phases. It's pretty strong. I mean, we have pretty good confidence in the building, but by putting a steel structure around it, we don't have to rely on the existing infrastructure at all. So as soon as we put the steel basically around the building in the 2nd and 3rd floor, that old roof is redundant. In fact, when tenants come in, they can choose in their particular area if they want to excavate and remove the old roof, because it's not really doing anything at that point. To the same point, all the bearing walls within the building are essentially no longer bearing walls because
You have a shell.
There'll be a shell around it. So it's not only is it allowing us to go faster, for the construction itself. Again, we don't have to worry about doing any testing on the existing infrastructure to make sure it can handle the load and the like. So this is, this is a lot easier from a planning perspective because we know the loads on the steel, we know how to build the steel building, and it still gives us the ability to match the look and feel of a school building. I mean, you probably have seen some of the designs, but I mean, our goal with the construction from an architectural perspective was to have it still look like like a school building to a degree, albeit kind of a mix of a modern and a 1930s school, but that was the theme that we were going along with it. And the steel columns on the outside will be covered in brick, and it'll basically look like part of the original building.
So it'll fit in architecturally too.
Right. So that's why, yeah, and I mean, the height issue is interesting because the only reason we have the height issue is because the original floors in the front of the building are 17 feet. So in order to maintain the historic facade, we're going up. Now, the height issue itself has been working through the town longer than we were planning on adding the second, or before we even knew we had a height issue for adding the second, third floor. But that's what our issue is with the height, is just to maintain that historic facade on the front.
How many stories buildings?
Just three.
3 stories.
Yeah, it's just that the front of the building has 17-foot tall first floor. So, and then what we do is instead of doing a step down when we go into the back, we just went ahead and went straight across. So it's all going to be the same height for the building. It's just a better look. But yeah, it's 17-foot ceilings in the front.
I can assure you that the zoning text amendment preceded your all's proposed project. So the height of your building had no bearing on the zoning text amendment, regardless of what anybody would say. I know that for a fact. So there's a lot of things that are thrown out, but I don't deal in hearsay. We deal in facts. So, and I've been in schools. I'm a public school teacher. I've been in schools that were 75 years old that we didn't miss a day of school, and they did construction after the kids were out.
Right.
So I have full confidence. If you get a building permit structural engineer, that's really not our issue. And I'm as much for safety as anybody, but that's really not our job. Our job is to determine, does it fit in the scope of the town? So anything we would say really has no bearing.
Chairman, just one of Carol's comments. My understanding is this has been to the ARB already, and now forward, make sure that those minutes are forwarded to the planning commission so that you can see the comments and the dialogue. The owners here, maybe you can add to that. I wasn't at those ARB meetings, so I rely on the minutes myself.
So for the next meeting, Steve, can we have traffic, the ARB, and what else do we say?
The height.
The height, which
So that'll be,
is going to be determined one way or the other. We're either going to, if we choose to go forward, we're either going to give a waiver, or it's going to fall right under what we've currently just voted on to push. So, but if we could just address those with the folks and pull Steve in, that would be great.
Just one last question that I have. Will you have some sort of a plaque inside indicating something of the history of this building?
Oh, yeah, we can. I mean, I know we have that information currently. I'd have to talk to Sean, but, I mean, we're pretty proud of the history of the building.
It's a fascinating history. And
It really is. And it's interesting, I mean, since we did all the demo of the building originally, you can definitely see how the building codes and building quality changed over the years. I mean, that initial 1930 section is solid. And I mean, even the way they made the brick was just different, because it took forever to cut through and drill and do some of that work. Whereas you get further back into the building, I mean, it's 15 minutes to cut through some brick in the back. It is fascinating. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of history. And we have all that stuff documented ourselves. So, I mean, it would be nice to put in the lobby.
we are a walking town, and it's nice to have this sort of little historical markers or places where people can find about the history of the town without doing a lot of arduous research.
yeah.
So,
Okay, that's a good idea. Just for a question for the ARB, just so I make sure we have everything when we show up, what's the question? Is it just the ARB minutes from last time, or is it?
We just want to make, the ARB, their job is to make sure that architecturally everything's aesthetically consistent across town. So if you've already met with them, all we need to know is they've approved of the project.
Yeah.
And that's really all. We don't need to know what you discuss. We just need to simply know do they approve or disapprove, unless any of my other.
No, just if there were any issues that were outstanding that we should honor. That,
Yeah.
you know,
I was
that
here at
they
the
were-
last ARB because I wasn't standing over there for my deck, but I don't remember it being brought up, but it may have. Prior to that one, okay. Okay. All right.
All right, well, thank you, appreciate it.
And my deck got approved, yes.
All right, we have no further comments. We have,
Matt?
yes, sir.
Could I just have a throwback question here for Reverend Monroe?
Yes, sir. If you would come back,
He's
please.
still here. And it vaguely does relate to this. Is your SUP basis related to the fact that that school is basically where your students are now?
No, the SUP is where our pre-K campus is. So we have two campuses. Our kindergarten through fifth grades are located in the QBU building. But we have a pre-K campus, pre-K 3s and 4s on Fayette Street
Okay.
and the Parish Hall of St. Paul's Episcopal Church. So the requesting the SUP extension has more to do with us trying to combine both campuses in a single building, and we are working toward that.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, will the building be in Haymarket?
Probably not, because we've not been able to find enough land for us to put up a school.
That's too bad.
Thank you, sir. All right, the last thing on the agenda, Steve, is Dog's Day Out, the buffer modification, but it's my understanding that you have the authority based upon the current ordinance to approve that without us discussing it.
Correct. When I initially looked at this, I was looking at a copy of the ordinance that didn't have the amendments in from 2016. The ordinance was amended in 2016 to allow the administrator to provide the buffer modifications. So there's no action needed. I've already approved that modification because the ordinance allows me to do that.
All right, and if you could, I see one of the owners here, if you could just convey, at least from me, I appreciate all the hoops. I mean, they probably jump more than any business, and I've been here 20, people like to throw around how long they've been here, and I've been here 20-plus years, and they've certainly gone above and beyond. So if you could just, not that it means anything, thank them for me, and I'm sure I'll probably speak for the rest of the commission. They've been really fun to work with because I believe they really want to do what's best for the town as well as their business.
Now, we placed them on the agenda because, we wanted to keep it moving forward, so to speak. And their engineer pointed out the change in the ordinance that was last year. So it's great we got it on the agenda, but it's also great that we can move forward. He's provided me a plat to sign off. He said he'd have it to me within the next day or so. So we'll go from there.
All right, let's move on.
What kind of trees, shrubs, greenery are going to be composing this buffer?
So it's, the plan that you have is pretty small.
Yeah.
It's in there. And
It's real
I've
small.
got a larger version of it, but it's specifically spelled out in the ordinance, the types of trees and shrubs in a fence to allow for that modification. So I can't tell you all the species right now. I'd be happy to send out a bigger plan to everybody so that they can see it. But it is quite a dense pattern of vegetation in that area.
And that's a 6-foot board fence, correct?
That's right.
Okay, which will actually, I think, screen the, I know the town's screened behind our homes along Dogwood Park Lane for the town's Haymarket Park. And there's a lot of gaps in that where if there were a fence, it even have screened it more. So I think it will actually help that homeowner to have vegetation plus the fence.
Yes.
Plus it'll kill, not that sound will be an issue, but a little bit affords a little more privacy.
To let the planning commission know, and working with the civil engineer, the designer for the site, they expect to submit a site plan for final review fairly soon.
Okay.
I know a question has come up with a site distance issue, and the owner here has been working with Art Kloss and myself on that. In fact, I'd like to talk to you after the meeting tonight about that. But it's not a showstopper at all.
I'm curious, do you have at all an opening day in mind? Just curious.
It depends on when we get our permits
Right.
billed, but we'd like to be open before the holidays.
Before this year, okay.
A lot of dog owners up here, so. All right, let's move on. Town planner update, sir.
I don't have a lot to add to you, to the commission's agenda tonight. We've just been plowing through permits, trying to get them back on track. And Dog's Day Out is a good example, but I've seen a steady stream of applications for permits, primarily for the Architectural Review Board and these occasional site plans that are in front of you tonight. So recently, it's all been ARB.
Right, I just have one question, and obviously anybody else can ask one. I was noticing the other day that they have the foundation laid for sheets. I saw they're putting block up in the back. Do you know if that project is still on tap to be completed this fall?
I don't know the schedule. I do know that
Footers are in.
a representative of Sheets called with their sign package today. So I would assume, they're pretty much staying on schedule, because that package needs to go to the ARB. I mean, it's a pretty extensive list of signs that goes with the sheet site. But as far as the details of that schedule, completion, I'm not really sure. But I think you'll be surprised how quickly it goes.
And then the interchange.
I do have an update on that.
Okay, I was going to ask that.
It looks like right now that they're shooting for it to be completed in July versus September. Ultimately, they have to be done by October. A lot of it depends on the rain, just the weather itself. But the latest I got from Tina, who's a project officer, was that they are looking mid to late July. So that's a good thing.
55?
Yes, that's the entire project.
Sidewalks, everything, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Which will help traffic immensely.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, not to hear my wife complain about it, she can't get to Walmart.
Just for, don't know if it's proper to bring it up here, the issue in front of Giuseppe's with the standing water?
Yes.
That'll be fixed next week.
Right. Good.
I just was able to move that up about 3 months.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, yes.
All right. It has been, I want to personally thank all of you for your service. And if you know of anybody that wants to join us, there's always room to get involved in the town. So it's one thing to complain about, it's another thing to serve. So I appreciate your service. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second?
I will second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Good evening. Hope the Caps win.
Oh, that's tonight.